It's the hardest part of the ring. The hardest part of the ring. Sometimes you go over that top rope and you bang your head on the ring apron. Don't do that. That's when you feel like a big dope. Because they're the worst bumps you can be taking. Oh, it's the hardest part of the ring. The hardest part of the ring. Sometimes you reach out for that hot tag. And you go ahead and make your own comeback. Knock it off. That's when you should quit wrestling. And you're better off rolling in thumbtacks. Hey, the hardest part of the ring. The hardest part of the ring. Sometimes you're distracting the referee, and the babyface has your wrestler pinned. Then you get punched to the ring apron, and you realize all the trouble you're in, 'cause it's the hardest part of the ring. The hardest part of the ring. Double claps. We're live, Bob Squad. We can hear the crowd. It's the hardest part of the ring. Whoa, Nelly, what is happening right now? What's causing all this, as they used to say? It is the hardest part of the ring. We are covering the Hulu edition, a version of the first live WWE Raw in a year and a half. Good gravy. This actually got to me more than the live Money in the Bank and clips of the live SmackDown. For whatever reason, I think it's because I've literally had to sit through all the Raws. And watch them and whatnot. And I think this is the first live Raw I've ever reviewed on Hardest Part of the Ring. So the pay-per-view was going to be, we knew that was going to be something special. And WrestleMania, honestly, was that didn't feel all that special, to be honest with you. WrestleMania was kind of a letdown, but at least it was long, and that's what's important. It felt like a week, because it was a week. It's kind of insane. So anyway, I looked up what we missed on the Hulu, and it actually wasn't that much. So anyway, let's kick the bad boys off, you crazy cats, you rabid dogs, frothing at the mouth, champing at the bit, drool dribbling down your chin, stacked around like hermit crabs crawling out of a bucket. Your goddamn champions, daddy. The first live WWE Monday Night Raw on Hulu TV in a palm of your hand opens with Hulk Hogan slamming Andre the Giant and some other old people, and then they open with Raw on a live shot, and the whole night, to me, it felt like they were doing one of their old school Raw, like their old school themes. It's like, remember how we used to do it? We're going to do it this way, like as a joke, kind of. It was so strange. But I love this, and even though 99% chance this is John Cena is going to come out and get the first big reaction for this, given him coming back at Money in the Bank, and they advertised him heavily, etc., etc., etc. With that said, the little pause, that 5 second, 4, whatever it was, right before they hit his music, that I just bit my own tongue. I'm so excited, I just bit my own tongue in the middle of the hardest part of the ring. That's what we were missing. We were missing that anticipation of, is this going to happen? What's going to happen? What are we doing? It's getting a little nervous, and a lot can go through your mind in a couple of seconds. And just that 4 or 5 second hesitation, and then hit the Cena, it's green this go around, the green and yellow and the whole lights and the music and everything, and Cena comes out yelling. He comes out very unscripted. He's doing great. He's saying thank you, and everybody's as loud can be, and it stayed pretty loud for the whole thing. There were moments, but I mean, it can't be screaming the entire thing. People get tired, even if they're having a good time. Like you could have a good comedy show and people are, even when they're laughing and clapping, like after 90 minutes they're kind of laughed out, and you can badger them to clap and make some noise all you want and pretend that means something, but I mean, even if they're having fun, they're just laughed out. There's a limit to it, and people get cheered out too. But they stay pretty live for this, which is good. Cena goes bananas. He pretty much tells people he doesn't like Roman Reigns. He's going to visit Roman Reigns on SmackDown, which gives you a reason to watch SmackDown. There's been plenty of reasons to watch that's very good, but I'm just saying he's reminding you, and he plugged his movie, the 2 movies, I guess. Did he plug the Furious thing or not? I forget, but he plugged the Suicide Squad one somehow, and well, he did all that. But he's a total pro, gets it all in, knows where everything is. No hesitation on John Cena. So it was so fun to watch that and give a little bit of a class on how it's done. And in fairness to others, John Cena never had to deal with the Thunderdome and the only COVID era match he had to deal with was that cinematic thing with Bray, which wasn't a match anyway. So really, he didn't have to deal with all this crap that Drew McIntyres of the world had to deal with. So, and Bobby Lashley, etc., etc. Anyway, and Orton. Okay, we can go on. Roman. Yeah. So Cena says, Roman, you're an asshole, and he's gonna wants to see Roman for the championship at SummerSlam. Makes perfect sense. Pretty much what we thought, but what fun! And it didn't go too long. It wasn't a big 15. Why is it? It didn't feel long anyway, because there were people involved. We hit Matt Riddle's music, and this is fun. Whenever I love when they take advantage of putting a star with someone you wouldn't associate them with, and giving that newer person the rub. In this case, Riddle gets the Cena rub. Cena rubs Riddle down. We all got uncomfortable. That's not what happened at all. And they just say the word bro back and forth, and it was kind of silly, but it gives Riddle the moment and everything else. And everybody was into it. People were chanting bro. And we take a break. Riddle Cena has disappeared. He's gone forever. We can't. Well, maybe he's there and we just can't see him. Well, okay, we're all gonna make that joke. But anyway, so he's clearly still there the whole time. We have a six-man tag. John Morrison, Johnny Drip Drip is teaming with AJ Styles and Omos to fight Riddle and the Vikings. Miz is in a wheelchair with a drip stick, and they're spraying Byron Saxton. And I'm pretty sure when Riddle and AJ lock up, Byron says shit on air. I played it back, and I'm like, I think he totally just was like, shit on air with his stuff. What happens? I wrote something. Oh, we have a big dive and a break. We've gone back to that old cliche. In many ways, it was an old school Raw, just not that old school, just years ago, a couple years ago. Yeah, do I have to sneeze? I might have to sneeze. I'm not sure. I'll work it out. So we have a big dive. We go to the break, and that was an oldie but a goodie from way back when. Now, there was a drop kick. Why did I write drop? Oh, drip stick. That's what I wrote. Okay. So Riddle did something clever here. He takes the Miz stick for the drip stick from Miz, sprays Omos. Omos has his back to them, of course. And Riddle hands the stick back to Miz and runs away. And Omos gets mad and chases Miz, who is in a wheelchair, but Omos still can't catch him for whatever reason. Which is a big distraction. So Morrison turns into the Viking finish, 1, 2, 3. And Viking and Vikings and Riddle, they do the hand thing, which really worked well together. And I guess that sets up another tag match potentially with the Vikings and AJ and Omos. No idea when Orton's getting back to do the eventual RK Bro AJ Omos match. And what happens next on Hulu, mind you? I'm sure something else happened after this, because there's no way on TV they would go straight to Charlotte and a ring with a red carpet in it. They would have some kind of buffer in between, I'm sure. But anyway, they do that. Charlotte is on a red carpet, and she says that Lynch is breastfeeding. That's basically the whole. And they were chanting Becky, and she just brought that up for some reason. I don't know why. Be that as it may, and now that we know that, Charlotte called herself the Opportunity several times and bragged about defeating Rhea Ripley the previous night for the WWE Raw Women's Championship, yada, yada, yada. Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville are in suits, and they say, hey, you want a rematch? You're going to give her a rematch, Charlotte, later on tonight. Okie dokie. And we have a package for the women's Money in the Bank replaying that Nikki, a.s.h, Nikki Ash, whatever, has won the ladder briefcase thing. And then we have a thing called for Karrion Kross, the NXT champion, is wrestling on this show for whatever reason. And Corey Graves calls him the Harbinger of Sorrow with Corey. Corey always mentioning his 80s metal whenever he can, as you've seen in his Symphony of Destruction matches, his puns. And I guess they had one that wasn't on Hulu on this show. I think he meant to say Harvester of Sorrow. I think he was trying to quote a song from Metallica's Injustice for All, or maybe they changed it for copyright. But I think it's Harvester of Sorrow, I'm pretty sure is a song. But he said Harbinger of Sorrow, which is not a bad name. I don't know what the fuck it means. Sounds cool, just go with it. Humberto Carrillo wrestles Sheamus for the U.S. Championship. No Sheamus Humberto things have been in the Hulu at all. I'm in the dark. I did know Sheamus broke his nose. But these two beat the shit out of each other. And I gotta tell you, this was similar to Charlotte and Rhea the night before. These two were having a pretty lackluster reaction. And as time went on, people got behind it and started to get into it. I thought the Thunderdome era benefited Sheamus because you could hear how hard he hits and gets hit. And it kind of, I really think the last couple of years were some of Sheamus's best stuff. Like I became a fan. Of course, he has a big metal nose protector. Um, what happens in this match here? At one point, Sheamus power bombs Humberto Carrillo on the ring apron, which I've never mentioned this before, but I'll say it just once. It's the hardest part of the ring. And then Sheamus, after power bombing Humberto Carrillo on the hardest part of the ring, he looks and he does the gladiator. He says the line, "Are you not entertained?" And unfortunately, nobody really responded, so I guess they weren't. That was kind of sad. But no, they do get the crowd going, these two. And eventually, not right down the finish. Wow, I totally missed that. Sheamus pins him with a brogue kick. Humberto punches the steel mask for some reason, hurts his hand, walks into a brogue. 1, 2, 3. This match gets 67,401 stars, and the six-man tag from earlier gets 67,918 stars. Please don't question the system. We don't have a lot of time for that. It's just my system's very complex. Somebody said the words local medical facility. I don't remember why. Oh, Damian Priest was watching the match. Oh, people were getting. That's why I forgot. I didn't turn the page early enough. Okay, so I did take more notes on this match. During the Sheamus and Humberto Carrillo match, Corey said local medical facility. Damian Priest is watching in the back, but again, this infuriates me because Damian Priest is not looking at a TV. The TV that Priest is looking at should have Priest on that TV looking at the shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? It should just be like an MCS for painting, and they never do that. Waste of time. Is anybody out here listening? Can we hook me up with this? Can we get this to happen once on Raw? It'd be nice. They got behind Sheamus with the pounds, the beats, the Bower. So they were really all behind this big Irish heel kicking the shit out of this kid. But Humberto Carrillo and Sheamus for the U.S. Championship makes sense. Two great Americans in their own right. Humberto did this right before the finish. He did the thing, and I'm sorry to the ladies, but there's a crop of NXT women for a few years that are extra guilty from like 2016 to 2018-ish that all overdo this, and it drove me bananas. They all do the extra over-the-top freak out that they only got a 2.5 count or whatever. And I love the Iconics, but I'm sorry, but the Iconics would, oh god, they would beat to death. That was their Scooby-Doo cover that Bayley and Sasha used to do for years, and thankfully they both stopped it, where they're covering someone and their feet are just slipping out of control. I call it the Scooby-Doo cover, because when he runs, he's about to do that. So Humberto did yes, you want to show frustration, of course, but it was just, I don't know, it was on near comedic tantrum levels. It was just a silly face. I thought it was a little silly. But anyway, Brogue 1, 2, 3, thank you. Thanks for coming, Humberto, as Michael Cole would say. We recap Bobby Lashley and Kofi. Lashley killing Kofi Kingston, pretty much. The New Day was not on this show, or at least not on the Hulu version. I don't know if they were on at all. So Bobby does an open challenge, and Keith Lee returns. Keith Lee. Well, that was fun to see him back. He does a great spot up top. He shows off he does the drop down leapfrog, which everyone oohed and awed at, as they should. Normally I'd say, what the hell is he doing? But he's a babyface, let him do it. But it's really the only thing in this match. He really got on Bobby. I mean, he stayed with Bobby, but really Bobby kind of muscled him around and used Keith to show him how strong he is. One scary portion is where Bobby Lashley on the outside of the ring, near the ring apron is the hardest part of the ring, picks up Keith Lee in a fireman's carry, and they both stumble back, and he almost dumped Keith Lee onto the front row, which was a terrifying split second, but it didn't happen, thankfully. Spear 1, 2, 3. Bobby wins and has a bloody ear. So I don't know if you're a big Keith Lee fan, and I'm a Keith Lee fan. Was this the best thing for Keith to come back to? I don't know. I mean, Lashley is the champion, so I don't know. But I mean, considering what happens next and what you got to get Lashley ready for, I kind of get it. I'm just wondering if there was a better choice, if somebody else would have been a better choice for this role for Lashley to beat. I won't say dominate because it's not. He didn't squash him. They didn't bury Keith Lee. But it was a very decisive victory. But it's not a squash. It was competitive to a point, but it was decisive. It was pretty clear. Because there wasn't like a finish, squirming out of a finish, hit a finish 1, 2, 3. It was like set up, finish 1, 2, 3. It's more definitive. So I don't know if that's best for Keith Lee. I'm wondering if someone else would have been better in this role, but then again, Lashley went through everyone, so that's another point too. In defense of this, without instead of me just shitting on it all the time, what was the better choice? You know what I mean? I don't know. Who else? Don't just say there's a problem. What's your solution? Who would have been a better choice then? Bobby's gone through Hardy a million times. Went to the New Day. Can't do him and Drew. Jackson Riker's too new. Damian Priest didn't need to look because he's occupied, I guess. Gonna go after Sheamus clearly. I can't do Riddle. Um, roster's pretty thin, guys. So I have to give it a pass. I can't complain about it because I don't have a solution. Fucking Goldberg shows up, does a fake laugh in Lashley's face. Goldberg wore his nicest jeans and said, "I'm next," and they're gonna fight at SummerSlam. Um, I have no interest in this unless Lashley. They're gonna trade spears or whatever the hell for 3-4 minutes. But really, unless I have no interest in this, I don't think it's worth doing unless Lashley just dominates him for 5 minutes, like one-sided, and goodbye. This is the only thing I would do. I'm not a fan of Goldberg. I think he's bad for the entire business. I'm not happy when he's around. So whatever. Backstage, the same Irish guys talking to MVP and Bobby Lashley. They hate him, so he always has to interview them. And they say no comment, more or less. Jinder Mahal and his big friends are there for Jinder's birthday. And one of them, the big guy, sings happy birthday to Jinder Mahal. And Drew McIntyre comes out in a black shirt and chairs, and he beats them all up with chairs, and he does 88 chair shots to one of the guys, Janky or Swanky or Hanky Panky, whatever the fuck the guy's name is. This is not a reflection on the two wrestlers, but this was nauseating because of the insane camera switches. I think the crowd counted like an even 20 chair shots, something like that. Literally, like almost like every 1.5 chair shot, the camera was from a completely different angle. It was so dizzying, and it's the thing everyone does that of Kevin Dunn that everybody hates. Doesn't look good. I don't know why he thinks it looks good. That guy's got to be fucking 92, by the way. Um, at least on Hulu, Karrion Kross comes out next to no entrance, but I'm assuming they aired an entrance on Raw. They must have. Tell me they aired it. If anyone saw the live version of this, please tell me they at least gave the guy an entrance. The songs sounded the same. No Scarlett. Doesn't look good. He wrestles Jeff Hardy, who I guess had some old mid 2000s music that I barely recognized. I mean, I was watching wrestling, but I guess it just never really stuck with me. But a lot of people seem to like it, so hey, more power to them. Karrion Kross is pinned for the first time in his WWE career. The dude is gone. He's had wars with Keith Lee and Ciampa. They put him over pretty decisively. Wars with Finn Balor and did he do Kyle O'Reilly? I don't think so. Gargano and I don't know. There was a 5-way he was in where I guess he beat everybody. You could put it that way. Or he was mauling people or having wars with people and etc. 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 Loses. No offense, I love Jeff Hardy, but in like 4 minutes he loses in a basic match because Jeff Hardy just cheats. The babyface just cheats and puts his feet on the rope. In WWE, heels win the main events clean, and babyfaces cheat to win because Vince hates faces, I think. And even with the leverage of the feet on a rope, is that supposed to be enough to keep this monster down? So Jeff runs away. Good guy cheats, and then Karrion Kross stares at the Irish guy and says, "Fall and pray," pretty much. And they play his music, and he looks very upset. Okay. So Keith's return and Kross's debut, or we have questions. There are definitely questions. Hey, there's no question about what they did for the next segment, because Alexa's Playground has the return of Lily with no audience noise. I don't know if this was pre-taped or live. If it was live, they took the audience noise out of it, so it was most likely just a pre-tape anyway. Yeah. Because I didn't hear any crowd noise. No cheers, no boos, no scuffling, no nothing. you would have heard something at the return of Lily, cheers or boos. So this is why in my head I think Vince will actually like the Thunderdome. Get those pesky fans who pay their money and buy the merch and buy the tickets and the pay-per-views and the network, etc., etc. Get their stupid opinions out of the way, so I could have my $1 billion action figure fed in my dementia. That's okay. There's a billionaire in another station who's in his 30s who has an action figure fed. Might as well have dementia as well. So anyway, so with none of our dumb opinions to interfere, we bring the stupid doll back. Eva and Dewdrop come back, and Eva trips over the fake grass for no reason. Alexa laughs. We're done there. Rhea Ripley and Charlotte are the main event. I like this match. I like the one they had in Money in the Bank as well. Those are my two favorite Rhea Charlotte matches. Well, that's not true. The Mania 2020 was really good, but it feels like 80 years ago because, I mean, Rhea's pretty much a different character at this point anyway, so. Um, of this program, though, I think the Money in the Bank one was the best. Anyway, Charlotte is working the leg. A lot of that. Well, I forgot to mention, Rhea Ripley came out in that, what do you call it? Let me flip back to my notes. When Charlotte was on the red carpet, Rhea came out and there was a back and forth. Charlotte kicked her shoe in Rhea's face and kicked her in the leg. Did something else happen? Did someone else come out? Did I get a little carried away? No? Okay, never mind. So that happened. So Rhea's selling a leg injury is what you got to know. So Charlotte's working the left leg, as we do, work the left in the States. Ever talk about that? Some other time. Who cares? Uh-huh. There's a Rhea Ripley chant, finally. People are chanting for Rhea, and Rhea did no cheating. So she's just doing the slow, boring babyface turn where we just kind of gradually realize it. Actually, I have a pretty basic idea for that, but I'll get to that in a second. Yeah, okay, what happens? Well, Charlotte gets DQ'd. She's running away and hits Rhea in the face with the belt. And they have to say face and not head. And they have to say championship and not belt. They have to say universe and not fans. But anyway, the big brawl. Rhea fights back and beats up Charlotte a bit, and the user is pissed off for the intentional DQ. Nikki, a.s.h, almost a superhero, does the cash in. The crowd goes bananas. We don't do the long teases with trying to cash it in 3 or 4 times. Usually that's more of a heel thing, like yes I will, no I won't, yes I will, no I won't. Babyface should be a bit more definitive, and Babyface in theory should cash it in a hell of a lot sooner than the heels would. The heels would be more waiting in the weeds, and more opportunistic, and the faces would be more go get 'em. Nevertheless, the face is cashing in on a beaten woman, but and Nikki does the high cross off the top and pins Charlotte for the 1-2-3, and the show ends with Nikki, a.s.h, in the crowd. Yeah, I don't think they should be seen standing in the crowd and kind of. I think it's too much for mocking the. We're spitting in the face, almost literally, too much with the COVID situation. Like, hey, you're lucky we're back. Don't push it. And then the media has all these clips of your wrestlers sweating and sometimes bleeding, unmasked with all these other unmasked people, and Nikki's mask doesn't count. Yeah, I just think it's a bad visual, but that's me. Anyway, and also, and more so with the women. I'm a little protective. I don't like the women. A lot of them because Nikki's not tall or whatever. I'm not saying she's not tough as nails, but just leaning back and in these tights, just into these crowds of gropey hands. Like it's just not. I don't know. I'd be a lot more comfortable if Bobby Lashley or Keith Lee leaned back into the audience, like, yeah, go fuck with them, see what happens there. But the company gets sued or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. It's a little past my comfort level. But anyway, Nikki does a big cash in. We go off the air. Nikki Ash on top. This was more of a recap than a review because this was a good Raw. Raw's getting good. I don't have a lot of shit to say, which is good. I like feeling good about this Raw. I'll say things are looking optimistic right now for WWE. We must be aware we are riding a wave, and I think, like I said, I think on the Money in the Bank podcast the other day, hey, listen, it's for the first several months, it'll be new to the live crowd, and the wrestlers and TV people may get used to it a hell of a lot quicker, I'm sure. But let's just enjoy the fun while we can, because it looks like SummerSlam will be a lot of fun. And I'm going to stay positive on this and say, you know what? I've really hated the company in the last year, but there are things I know are out of their control because of the pandemic, and there are other things where I'm like, that's still a shitty decision, live crowd or no live crowd. I think anything with Goldberg is a shitty decision. I'm not big on. I really wish they would nothing to do with Saudi Arabia. I'm kind of embarrassed and a little sick to myself when they do that. But I never watched those. I think I watched the first one, and every special since then, post beheading of that journalist, I never watched. And except I cheated once to see. I don't even think it was the Triple H, the Shawn Michaels one match comeback. I don't think it was that. I think I've only watched clips of that. I think the only match I cheated was the Taker Goldberg debacle because I just had to know. And it just kind of reinforced 2018, 2019, I think, one of those. It just kind of reinforced everything I feel about Goldberg. Yes, there was heat and there was sweat and this, that, and the other thing, but he does have a history of knocking himself stupid, whether it's banging himself against a locker or smashing his head into the ring post. He was sloppy then. Did you think he was going to get less sloppy over time? Like, because he did knock himself out on the ring post on that spot a few times in WCW. I think his ego and disregard and disrespect for his opponent's health and the business shines through in everything he says and does, and he quite frankly makes me sick. And I don't want to see the son of a bitch on any form of media in front of my eyeballs ever again, as far as I'm concerned. So I have nothing good to say about him, but uh, I think the playground having no live noise was a bit of a cheat. It was a huge cheat. It was because it's a middle finger to us. By the way, it's like no. We're making sure your voice doesn't count for this thing. Like the company is like looking past us. Like I always use stand-up comedy. When a stand-up comic, you get sometimes you forget that you're doing it, but instead of looking at the front row or two in the eyeballs, you start looking at the back, and you're just looking over. And I feel like that's how they treat us. They treat us like they're looking over us, past us, and are really advertising or creating their show for someone else and not us. That's how I feel, and telling us, no, this is good, and you don't count. But we all hate it. It's not good. We're the audience. Okay, so staying optimistic about these live shows. Excuse me. Staying optimistic about SummerSlam right now, and staying optimistic about going over the top rope and not bashing my skull on the hardest part of the ring. The hardest part of the ring. Ba-da-ba-da.